Yes, my name is Bettina Maas. I'm the UNFPA representative in Ethiopia, and I have de facto been accompanying the 25 years of ICPD since I started with UNFPA in Beijing at the time.
Wow, Bettina, so you have, seen it all. So, being here in Nairobi, listening to all the pledges, listening to the commitments, are we going to really deliver to young women and girls this time around?
It is our obligation, I would say, and it's a commitment which I have been listening to across the board by civil society, by governments and private sector in the conference. So it's clear that we have to work together to ensure the promise we made in Cairo 25 years ago. And I believe that the summit has a lot of inspirational sessions. It has also a lot of concrete actions, and I think we are mobilizing for a common goal. And the common goal is zero unmet need for family planning, zero preventable maternal death, and zero GBV and harmful practices. And it is good that it's taking place in Nairobi, in East Africa. Me coming from Ethiopia, obviously, I see that the government and the national commitment of Ethiopia, which has been presented this morning jointly by government, civil society and private sector, is exactly reaching out and accelerating progress in the three areas, and to do so in a human rights-based approach.
Bettina, we heard from Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta saying that East Africa eliminating female genital mutilation, and it was applauded. But many activists also say perhaps he might only represent 1% of those African leaders really committed. But do you think this time around, given that we heard it from a president, there will be political commitment from East African and other African leaders?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we also have a cross-border initiative on eliminating female genital mutilation. It's part of Kenya, Ethiopia, Somalia, and other countries in the region, and so political commitment is there. In the case of Ethiopia, I have to say that the president of Ethiopia just recently launched a costed roadmap for the elimination of FGM and early marriage. So we see there must be progress. Yeah.
So, Bettina, we also heard that a lot of money is needed for these commitments, but we heard that some private sector, they are coming on board. What is your opinion around the financial implications for the commitments and the reality? Are we going to see the money coming in?
We have to be optimistic. We heard the pledges, and we also know as long as it's only pledges, we want to make sure that those pledges are converted into reality. But that is why when we all go back to our countries and our homes, whether it is on the continent, East Africa or Addis, and whether it's civil society, government or private sector, we have to stand up and assure to monitor also that these investments are being made. Personally, as I have said, I have accompanied the process. I do hope and trust. If I wouldn't trust that the commitment is real, it would be in the way of actually achieving the goal. So I have to be optimistic.
Bettina, can you share with us some insights into what's happening with different communities in Ethiopia? Of course, Ethiopia is often in the news for displacement of women and children. What's some of the work and projects that you are involved with regards to reproductive rights and GBV?
Yes, at UNFPA in Ethiopia, we are heavily engaged in supporting the development of the roadmap against harmful practices and GBV, and also on the FP2020 family planning side. And as you rightly point out, there are regional differences, and so the strategies are being localized to make sure that you really reach the last mile. That's on one hand. And we are working on what we call linking the humanitarian in the development and peace component, whereby for UNFPA we are sort of advocating and making sure that GBV and reproductive health are at the center of resilience building and humanitarian response. I have to say, if we have done specific programs in internal displacement settings and working in refugee communities and host communities, there are safe spaces for women, there are reproductive health kits in emergency, there is post-rape kits, there are social and mental health counseling sessions and monitoring for the protection system. So, of course, this is a very challenging environment to implement, not only in Ethiopia. Here you will see the sessions. It is not an easy undertaking, but at least there is the willingness, both by partners and the government, to work together to address those issues. No?
Bettina, and lastly, what would you say is the main message that you will take home back to your staffers, back to the activists in Ethiopia, and also a message for other activists on the continent?
What I would say, we have to accelerate the 3 transformational goals. What we have heard here and seen here and participated will take an inspiration to accelerate progress, and we all take away this back home for ourselves.
Great. Thank you so much. I spoke to Bettina Maas, UNFPA head in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, speaking to her at the ICPD25 conference in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm Crystal Orderson for IPS.